witnesses unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who were just like desire trees, who could fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Jai. Vanchakalpatarivasya. Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunnabe Hagate Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunnabe Hagate Ramadhuva Kunjabihari Gopi Janaballabha Girivara Hagate Gopi Janaballabha Girivardhante Yasodanandana Rajajanuranjana Yasodanandana Rajajanuranjana Jamuna Tera Banacharte Yamuna Tera Banacharte Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunjabihari Gopi Nana Malaba Girivardhante Gopi Nana Malaba Girivardhante Yasodhanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Banachauti Yamunatira Banachari Jaya Radhu Madhava Kunabikaguti Joy Radhu Madhava Kunabikaguti Madhava Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya also Petas at the Shimad. His Divine Grace Abhaya Chanana the Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Friends say Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shitwe Gadadha Srivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shai Makunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuranam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Munamaya Ki Jai Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Prasthaya Budale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Samani Chinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pacharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadeja Tarani. So we are reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 69th chapter, text 32. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Putranam Aduhitrinam Chakare Vidi Upayapanam Darair Varais Tat Sadrashai Kalpayantam Vibhuti Putranam Duhitri Putranam Duhitrinam No Putranam Duhitrinam Cha Kale Vidyupayapanam Daraivaristat sadrishai Kapyantam vimutibhi Putranam duhitranam cha Kale vidyupayapanam Daraivaristat sadrishai Kapriyantam vibhutipi Aputranam duhitranam cha Kale vidyupayapanam Daraivaristat sadrishai Kapayantam vibhutipi Vidyapayapadam Ladies. All right, that's it. Putranam of sons, Duhitrinam of daughters, Cha and Kale at the suitable time, Vidi according to religious principles, Upayapanam getting them married, Darai with wives, Varai and with husbands, Tat for them, Sadrashai compatible, Kapayantam so arranging, Vibhut to be in terms of opulences. So translation, Narada saw Lord Krishna engaged in getting his sons and daughters married to suitable brides and bridegrooms at the appropriate time, and the marriage ceremonies were being performed with great pomp. Interesting. So you repeat, Narada saw Lord Krishna engaged in getting his sons and daughters married to suitable brides and bridegrooms at the appropriate time. And the marriage ceremonies were being performed with great pomp. That word's not used so much anymore. Pomp and circumstance. I remember we were, I was a band player for football games. We play this one song, Pomp and Circumstances. Some of you may remember it if you're a little old like me. Anyway, so purport by the servants of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. This translation is based on Srila Prabhupada's Krishna. The word Kale here means that Krishna arranged for his sons and daughters to be married when each of them reached the proper age. I'm just going to read the next verse, and then we'll talk about this subject matter. Text 33. Prastapano panayanar apachanam mahotsavam viksha yogeshvareshasya yesham loka vishishmire. Actually, vishishmire. Sorry, got the pronunciation wrong. Narada observed how Sri Krishna, the master of all yoga masters, arranged to send away his daughters and sons-in-laws, and also to receive them home again at the time of great holiday celebrations. All the citizens were astonished to see these celebrations. So there's no purport here. So, Om Gana Timirandasha Gananjana Shilakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. So, something wrong there with the internet. So, I guess sannyasi, we're supposed to talk about marriages right now, so difficult subject matter for sannyasis. So anyway, in general, we can mention that Lord Krishna is setting an example for society at large, as he says in his Bhagavad Gita. Yadyada chariti shreshtas tatat evaitaro janaha. As a great person acts, then the rest of the world follows, or everyone else follows. So Krishna is setting an example of being an ideal householder. One of the things, actually, I remember from the Krishna book was really interesting. And I mentioned the other day in class that Krishna rises early when the peacocks crow, even though he's lying very comfortably embraced in bed by his wife. Actually, some of the ladies say, take this verse out of context and say, you should lie in bed peacefully with your wife embracing. Anyways. Anyway, not going to get into that. So I'm a sannyasi. So, anyway, so the point is he wakes up. We made that point the other day. He wakes up regardless or irregardless, as the case may be, of the situation. He wakes up no matter how comfortable he is, and we're all comfortable lying in bed at night. At least when we were younger, we were comfortable lying in bed. When you get older, you're never comfortable lying in bed or getting up or doing anything. But Krishna doesn't really get old. He's always like a young, fresh youth of 16, and Rukmini, his wives, are always like that too. So no matter how comfortable we are, tired we are, there's duty. Krishna's showing us the sense of duty here, that you do your duty regardless. Now, it's just not a dry thing, a dry reason you do your duty. Of course, you do have love for your sons and daughters, obviously. It's not done, I'm just doing this. It's my duty. I really don't want to arrange your marriages. I really don't want to pay for a large pomp and circumstance marriage. Actually, there's a reason for pomp at the marriage, because marriage is one of the samskaras. The word samskara, and we talk about this quite often at initiations, means perfect action. So an action that's perfect creates a good impression. Just like we have the initiation, samskara, and it's supposed to create a very good or perfect impression so that one goes on in life and focuses his or her life on the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So marriage is actually a samskara too. Vivaha, yagya, it's called yagya, sacrifice. And so the reason for the pomp, circumstance, and expense, for those of you thinking of getting married, it's very expensive when you get a daughter married. When you get a son married, not so expensive. So Krishna was lucky because he had 10 sons with each wife and one daughter. So he saved some money. Oh, good. We understand Krishna's Bhagavan. He has unlimited wealth, so he's not too worried about paying for his daughter's marriage, right? But many people are. I mean, I've seen in our community that sometimes someone is getting a daughter married, and the man is actually at retirement age. And still, now he may have to work for 10 more years, 15 more years, because he takes a mortgage out on his house to get his daughter married. Now, of course, sometimes they're arranging these really opulent marriages. Why? Because of what? Prestige in society. Because in Indian society, it's considered, you know, reputation and prestige is everything. And so sometimes it's hard to make devotees from certain areas of India, which we won't mention, because there's a lot of prestige, and if your son joins the Hare Krishna movement, it'll actually ruin your reputation, everything like that. So that should not be a reason for having an opulent marriage or an opulent bar mitzvah. So I slipped that one in for Mother Marilla. So anyway, so that should not be the reason to impress your friends and relatives. The whole point is that you're making a very serious commitment, and it impresses that in your mental state, you could say subtle body, or, you know, just impressions. That's an impression in your mind. It's very serious. It's not that you just walk to the courthouse and you just sign some papers. Of course, that should be done too. Prabhupada actually said you should have a legal marriage first. But it's extremely serious. And one takes it with great determination when one is married to fulfill the duties of their marriage. That means, you know, the husband maintains the wife. Anyway, they work out. When it's Kali Yuga, you know, people work out what is each person's duty. You know, so it's very, very important samskara. But, you know, let's talk about what is the purpose of marriage. You know, why go through the whole thing at all when you could just be a nice brahmachari or brahmacharini and serve Krishna with, you know, full energy without getting entangled and everything like that from a sannyas perspective. There's several purposes of marriage. Of course, the grahastha ashram is meant to maintain the rest of society. In the varnashram system, we have the grahasthas described or compared to the stomach of society. Stomach doesn't mean, you know, someone who just gets to eat and digest all the food all the time, but it means someone who maintains the very foundation, the glue, let's use that word, the glue that holds society together. Sannyasis like me don't hold society together. We break up society. I mean, our duty is to go to grahasthas' houses and talk to them about renunciation and get away just after we've taken our meal before we get in any trouble. Isn't it? That's a sannyasi's duty. He goes like that. Of course, a sannyasi, an actual Vaishnava sannyasi, can encourage grahasthas according to their particular, you know, psychophysical nature, level of spiritual advancement, to continue Krishna consciousness within the grahastha ashram rather than giving up the grahastha ashram. So that there's a different perspective for different duty for Vaishnava sannyasis. Vaishnava society sannyasis, following in the footsteps of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, are concerned for the whole society. So they're thinking, what is best for this particular individual? And they give advice not based upon their own particular perspective, but they give advice based upon what is good for those particular individuals. So that's very, very important. So anyway, so the grahasthas maintain society. They actually are in charge of having progeny. For those who don't know what progeny is, that's children. And raising good, Krishna-conscious children. That's not a sannyasi's duty. I remember one of the first duties I had in the Hare Krishna movement, and I hate to say this, was being an ashram teacher for little children, 5-year-old children. And it was, their parents were like hundreds or thousands of miles away. And it really wasn't my duty. And I didn't do a good job at it. You know, so the children, we were actually I was talking to a lot of devotees about this thing. They said, well, what about the ashram of the spiritual master? You know, you hear this brahmachari, what, Gurukula, we were giving a class on that. Vasandanta Garoritam, that the brahmachari should go. And, you know, Prabhupada talked about 5 years old, the brahmachari goes to the ashram of the spiritual master. But the traditional Vedic system was that the spiritual master was married, and at least the spiritual master in charge of the ashram, he was married, and when the children came, it wasn't like an institutional setting. I mean, I'm very much against, as anyone who knows me can say, can verify, I'm very much against institutional, let's say, ashram gurukulas, because they just haven't worked. You know, as my friend Einstein says, the definition of insanity is what? Keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. It just doesn't work, because the traditional arrangement works where you have the children go to the ashram, and there's a grahasta couple with limited amounts of children, not 500 children with one grahasta couple, you know, 10, 20 at most. 20's a lot. I don't know. I'm not expert in these things. I've never arranged any sort of thing like that, and I don't plan on doing so. So, in any case, it's a limited amount of children, and they have the love from the spiritual master and from the spiritual master's wife, isn't it? And it's a very warm situation. You know, they're brought up in like a family, extended family type of situation. So that works quite well. We find Lord Ramchandra went to the ashram of Vasishtha Muni, and Vasishtha Muni was married. What was Vasishtha Muni's wife's name? Arundhati. And so, you know, it's a very nice situation for Lord Ramchandra, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna. So anyway, so raising, Grahasta's responsibility is for raising Krishna-conscious children, and that's, that may come as a surprise, but that's where our acharyas come from parents, don't they? Except for the case of one acharya, as far as I know, Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma just had a father. Narada Muni, no, he didn't have either. But I'm talking about founder acharyas, like. And Thor Kumars didn't have a mother either. Wow. So I guess mothers are optional. So that's past life. But in this life, he didn't have a mother. And for Kumars, what's that? Yes, Shiva also, and Lakshmi also. So I guess this is an optional aspect of household life here. So anyway, getting back to the point of a normal situation, it's required, you know, to have mother and father taking care of you like that. So this is, you know, this is actually a very important purpose of marriage, raising children who will become Krishna-conscious persons, and even sometimes acharyas. Like Prabhupada had a very loving mother, a very loving father. And another important reason for having marriage in society is that it protects the ladies. Actually, Arjuna makes that point in the Bhagavad Gita that, you know, if all the men are killed, the ladies will be unprotected, and therefore the ladies will be exploited, and there'll be, what, unwanted progeny, Varna Sankara. So, very important aspect of society. So, a Vaishnava society, a Vaishnava sannyasi keeping in mind the overall good of the society, will encourage grahastas and even encourage people to get married, because the Vaishnava sannyasi will understand the psychophysical nature of the people that he is advising. Because that's one point. So, and then as far as arranging marriages is concerned, that may not really be too attractive to people in the Western world, but there's a reason for marriages being arranged. Specifically, in this particular case, we're talking about Kshatriya marriages. Kshatriya marriages are arranged basically for one of the main purposes is to make alliances between different kingdoms. And also to, breed nice kings. I hate to use the word breeding because that sounds rather cold-hearted. But, there's a consideration. There's the consideration, when people get married, what type of progeny are they going to have? So, things are very carefully examined. Of course, nowadays it's called eugenics. We don't really talk so much about breeding people. Not so politically correct. But the Kshatriyas were very concerned. And the Brahmanas were concerned about that. What kind of child is going to come out? Like, if you're not careful, you may have a case like Maharaj Anga and his wife. Right? His wife was the daughter of fear personified. And, they bred, they had a child. They had a child, and the child was like really bad quality. His name was Vena. And Vena was so bad that when he went out to play with his friends, he would kill them all. His mother would say, "Dear, where are all your friends?" "Oh, Mom, I just killed them all." There's no mention of his mother having any objections to that in the Bhagavatam. But his father was not too happy, and his father followed the procedure that I generally advise, which is if life gives you a lemon, you make lemonade from it. So his father thought, he's a bad son, but actually, he's a good son, because it gives me an opportunity just to get out of here. But because the kingdom was left with Vena at that particular point, it was a disaster for the Brahmanas, especially because Vena was demanding that the Brahmanas would worship him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shows what a problem when you have bad breeding, isn't it? You're not planning properly a marriage. And then Brahmanas had to kill Vena, and of course we know the rest of the story is Vena's body was churned, or as we say now, cloned, genetic engineering, using CRISPR, which is actually a scientific technique for doing something similar. And then you had Prithu and Archie. It's pretty interesting when you can clone a really bad person and come out with the Supreme Personality of God. Don't try that in your laboratory. So anyway, really it's important to consider what type of progeny will come out of this. Also, if you're a Kshatriya, what type of alliances you want to make with another kingdom. That's also very important. Just like you find in the, at least the history is that in the Muslim religion, you had Muhammad who married the princesses from all the tribes. And as a result, he became so powerful he could march back to Mecca and take over the city. So this is a very important consideration. But perhaps even more important for us now, because we're not talking about alliances between different families. Most of us are not
in charge of kingdoms or wanting to make alliances with other kingdoms. It's interesting. They used to do that in Europe too. Same thing. It's not just India. They used to do that in the European kingdoms. Sometimes they make alliances by these marriages. But the most important thing to consider is the compatibility between the husband and the wife. And you find different descriptions and examples in the Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures of compatible and incompatible situations. Of course, it's best, from my particular perspective, if husband and wife are both of the same varna. That is the best. It's also acceptable if the husband's of a higher varna and the wife is of a lower varna. That's called anulom. And it's not so acceptable, not acceptable if the wife is of a higher varna than the man. But still, when you have the mixed varnas, there can be problems because sometimes, even if it's an acceptable one, anulom, sometimes you can have a man of a higher mode of nature and a woman of a lower mode of nature, and she may drag the man down. I mean, just like you've all seen that movie, Maha-Avatar, Nrsimha, right? So you have Diti and Kashyapa is a Brahmin, and Diti, she definitely had a lot of passion in her, right? And so Kashyapa is just trying to meditate. The movie was a little bit too much, actually almost too explicit, isn't it? But anyway, that's why it got in many countries, it actually got an R or PG rating. And children under a certain age were not allowed to go see it. And devotees had to get special written permission to bring their children in to see the movie. So anyway, so you see Kashypa's there. He's just trying to do his Brahminical thing. He's meditating, and his wife comes, I'm not going to say what she says. But anyway, she acts in such a way that even awakens his potential lower nature. Because someone, even if they have a higher nature, there's always the potential to become degraded. Because as we find in the Bhagavad Gita, there's a description of the modes of nature. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating passion and ignorance. Sometimes passion defeating goodness and ignorance. Sometimes ignorance becomes... You get the idea. They're always in conflict or in flux. So there's even a danger with that sort of anulom marriage, that someone of a lower nature will drag you down. So you have to be very, very alert if you're in such a situation like that. So anyway, better people are of the same nature, much more compatible. And then you have proper progeny at that particular point. There won't be confusion between the husband and the wife. And there's some other things I wanted to speak about in this regard. And anyway, so that's why it's important to have marriages, proper marriages. I know nowadays they don't arrange marriages so much, but proper marriages arranged according to the nature of both the husband and wife, or son and daughter. So, any questions or comments? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, they didn't have airplanes or trains or cars or anything like that, so it may have been in a neighboring village or in the same village like that, so they weren't so far away. Good point. Yes, Gopi, you have a question?
It seems like the motive is positive and
Yeah, of course.
right? You know, and the same thing with the samskaras is like, you know, all those things are built around, because Prabhupada talks in the Bhagavad Gita about if you can't provide a child with a Krishna conscious, successful Krishna conscious career as a guru or parent or anything, you shouldn't have children. So
Yeah.
it's really motivated by wanting, you know, loving another entity, not to want it to have the most optimal outcome, not just because they wanted to breed.
Yeah, I know that word breeding is kind of heavy. From a sannyasi's perspective. looking at marriage from a sannyasi's perspective. Anyway, so yeah, let her continue. So what? Yeah. Yeah. It's not we're just advocating, eugenics in a strict sense, but we want parents to have children that'll fulfill their particular expectations. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and also breeding is considered in the modern law too. That's why you don't have brothers and sisters getting married. Because it's considered that, people of the same family or close families get married, you can have a lot of birth defects. I've been in some villages in America where basically everyone's getting, I don't want to say everyone's breeding, but people are intermarried and so much and switching, and everyone's related in the village. And it's amazing. You have like 50% of the children. When I was traveling through America, you have 50% of the children actually have some serious defects. So, Mother Urmila, you have something? Yeah, so, and close, yeah. Is what? Compatibility. Yes. That's right. If right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, good point. And actually, I was just thinking, as you said that, of Kaikeyi, who drove the chariot for Dasarath and saved him. That's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, Subhadra drove the chariot when she was kidnapping Arjuna. Yeah. Yeah, they were engaged in business. Yeah. And then, unfortunately, with the gopis selling their milk products, they ran into a tax collector, They didn't know how to deal with him. They should have brought their husbands to deal with that guy. All right, good point. Some good points here. So anyway, basically it's important to consider all these factors when people are getting married. And it's the parents' duty. And you see Krishna did that duty. He wasn't just saying to them, just find your own. Of course, there is that case of Savitri and Satyavan, where the father is Jumat Sen, I believe, whatever, of Savitri. He couldn't find a husband for his daughter, and he said, "You just go around and find her." So she went all around. She found Satyavan, right? So that's an unusual case, but generally it was arranged, and the daughter also had a right to say no way. Yes, Swayamvar means she chooses. She can choose. The father can come and say, "I have this guy for you." And she says, "No way, he's ugly," and she didn't have to accept him. As simple as that. So it wasn't just like forced. The people were forced to get married to a particular individual, and they always had the option of getting kidnapped. Isn't it? The Rakshasa style of marriage, Arjuna did that, and also Krishna. Samba, yeah. And the parents objected. And also with she didn't like him, but she was stuck with. You got to learn to love someone after some time. Thank you for sharing that. That's quite humorous.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Kanvandam Maravindadalayataksham Varhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Nishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasta Sakalem Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam.
Yeah, just write a letter. Yeah, kidnap me. Namaho Vishnu Adaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Praja Nivasesha Shunyavani Paschachagade Satarane. Jaya Shri Krishna Jayadana Prabhupada Nanda Jidwaita Gadada Siva Sati Goraturina Chaitanya Prabhupada Nana Yudvaita Gadada Siva Sati Gauratu Shri Krishna Nana Prabhupada Nana Yudvaita Gadada Siva Sati Gauraturina. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Jidwaita Gadada Siva Sati Gauraturina. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Go Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Goloka Nana Nana Goloka Nana Rakate. Jaya Radha Goloka Nana Nana Goloka Nana Rakate. Jaya Radha Hey, Rane, Nayaragate. Nayaragate, Rane, Nayaragate. Shri Ragat, hey, Jai Om Vishnupada, Paramahamsa Paracharya, Satashi Shiva, His Divine Grace Savaya, Shanma Bhavatananda, Goswami Marshya Prabhupada, ISKCON, Prabhupada, Prabhupada,
So we're having a kirtan here in the temple starting at 12. And we'll have that kirtan until we have the Thanksgiving lunch, so we hope everybody can come. Probably from about 12 to 2 we'll be having kirtan. And on Saturday, between 2 and 4, we'll be in Chapel Hill for Nagar Sankirtan. It'll be cold, but it will be sunny, so please come, and we will give a chance for everyone on Franklin Street to hear the holy name. Jai. Chaito darpanam arjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam shreya kairavya chandrika vitaranam vijayavadu jivanam anandam buddhi hari hari bo. Beautiful. Sarvatmasnapanam paramvijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam namakari bahuda nija sarva shaktis tatrapita niyamita smarane nakala etadrishita vakripa bhagavan mamapi durdaivam idrishami hajjanina nuraga trinadapi sunichena tarorapi suhishuna amanina manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Budao Kripayata Vabhada Pankaja Stita Duli Saja Shimvachintaya Nayanam Galashu Daraya Vadanam Gadgadurudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishyavapadamritam Anastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatava Vidadatulam Patomat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service.